Hello everyone, welcome back. In the previous video, we made sure that our environment is ready for PHP development. Yes, so if you have not watched that video, kindly go and then check that video out. So in this particular session, we are going to continue to look at what variables are in PHP. Okay, yes, so that is what we are going to look at. So let me just get rid of this statement here and say that pull out some few comments. Variables in PHP. Yeah, so when we say a variable, what does it mean? So practically we are saying that a variable in PHP is a container that stores a value that can be changed during the execution of the program. Okay, it stores a value. Okay, it's practically a container that stores a particular value, and this value has the tendency to change during the runtime of the program. Okay, so just like we established in the other videos that whenever you want to declare a variable in PHP, you would have to precede the variable with a $sign, okay, and then it will be followed by the variable name. We are going to look at that in practicality. Now, you also have to note that a variable name must start with a letter. Okay, so it can be A, B, C, D, like that, a letter or an underscore. Okay, or an underscore, like that. Numbers are also allowed, okay, but then you can't commence a variable name with numbers or special characters. More to that too, special characters are not allowed in variable names. All right, so for instance, you have a variable like so, let's say / or 1. Okay, 1. This is not a valid variable name. You see that even our ID is yelling at us that no, this is not correct. Okay, yes, we cannot start a variable name with a number, but we can say that, let's say n1. Do you get it? So we are supposed to start with a letter, or we can say that underscore 1. That is what allowed. Do you get it? But we can't do any special character thing here. We can, for instance, let's say at. No, this one will not work. Okay, so please bear these things in mind. Variables must start with a letter or an underscore and can only contain letters, numbers, and underscores. As simple as that. Alright, so let's start declaring some few variables to see what we have in stock. Okay, so I'll say that $, and I'll say x and say okay equals what, 10. Okay, what we have essentially done here is to declare this variable here, and then we've assigned this number here to it like that. So this equal to here is an assignment operator. Okay, this equal to here is an assignment operator. Let me try and then increase the font size for this editor to 27 and see what we have. Okay, I think this is a bit okay. Yes, now let's try and then see if we can get the value that is stored currently in this variable to the browser. You remember, whenever we want to output something to the browser, we use what statement? We use the echo keyword or the echo statement. So we say echo, then we call the variable. We make reference to this variable here. Okay, now when we print this thing out, we are supposed to see 10 in the browser. Let's go back to our browser and see what we have. So I'll just refresh, and as you can see, we have 10 here. All right, now let's try to figure out the data type of this variable here. So let's say that I have var dump. This is a special keyword in PHP. We'll talk about them more in the subsequent videos, but then let's try to see what this variable type is. So I'll just refresh, and it is telling us that it is an integer. Okay, this is an int, so it means it is an integer. Okay, now let's continue and then say that we want to, let me just comment this thing out here. We can also declare a variable that is of a string type. Okay, so we say equal to, then we open double quotes and say John. Okay, now we terminate this thing here. Remember, we established the fact that anytime you write a statement in PHP, you have to end it with a semicolon. You remember that? Yes. So we are making use of it here. That is how come you are seeing this semicolon here. All right, now let's just try and then once again try to output this variable and then get to know its value that it has for us. So we are supposed to see John. You guess right. Okay, yes, so John is printed or outputted to the browser. All right, now we can also work with what we call Boolean values. All right, a true or false value. So again, let me just comment this one out and say that we can for instance, we have a system that we would want to check the users that are in our system, okay, whether they are active or they are inactive. So we can say maybe it's active, and what we can do is that we can set this thing to true or false value. So it's either a true or false, but we don't do this at a go. So you can either specify a true like that. Then what we can do is that we say let's echo is active and see what we have in the browser. Yes, so we are getting 1. Now this true or false value is equivalent to 1 or 0. So if it is true, it is 1. If it is false, it is 0. Okay, just like we have in binary system, zeros and ones like that. Okay, so here the 1 is essentially telling us that our value, our Boolean value here is actually what? True. Okay, when I change this one to false, you realize that it will be 0 here. Okay, yes, so it doesn't even print anything to the screen, so it is off just like that, but technically it is 0. Okay, yes. All right, let's continue. Now let me just comment this ones out like that. Okay, so again, you have to note that in PHP, variables do not need to be declared with a specific data type. This is because PHP will automatically convert the type of the variable based on the value assigned to it. So as you saw in the earlier demonstration where I tried to test the data type for this particular one, it told us that data type was what? An integer. Okay, let's go further to really understand what is happening. Okay, so I'll say that there is another variable called num and I'll set this one to 20. Okay, and then there is another variable called what? Okay, let's just try and then output this one already. So let's say var dump. Now why we are not using echo in this essence or in this particular part is that when we use the echo statement, we only get the value. So let's see what we have in there. Refresh, and we have an integer and the value is 20. So this is the data type of the current value or the current variable that is holding this value here. It is an integer data type. Now when we use the echo statement, we will not get the data type. So watch. Okay, so when we go and then refresh the browser, we are going to see only 20. Yes, it doesn't tell us more information about this value here, but when we use the var dump, it is a built-in function or keyword that comes with PHP that you can make use of. Okay, all right, good. Now let's also say that we want to say that this num here should be equal to hello world. Okay, and now let's try again to output this number or num variable and see what the data type is. So I'll refresh. Okay, so we are getting a string. Initially it was integer, now it has changed to string. So what happens is that we establish the fact that a variable is just a container, okay, and whatever value that is held in a container has the tendency or has the capacity or the capability to change within runtime. When the program is running, the value that is held in the variable can change. So you saw that here we said the value 20 should be assigned to this variable here, and then we came back on this line here, assign this value here back to the number. So it is actually working with the last statement, simply because the code is executing from the top to the down. So it goes first like that. Okay, it sees this thing as a comment, it doesn't mind it. It says this thing as a variable, but we are not essentially doing anything with it. It ignores it like that through to the very last one. So it meets this one. Okay, said this is a variable here called num, and the value is what, 20, and the same variable was just again declared here and then assigned a different value called hello world, and therefore it is working with the latest one here. Okay, all right. So after the second assignment, this one here, the num variable will now hold a string value instead of an integer. Do you get it? All right. Now I would want to talk about one more thing. It is a good practice to use descriptive and meaningful names for your variables, and to use camel case or snake case for naming your conventions. Okay, so for instance, let me just get rid of this one. For instance, I would want to have a variable called first name. Okay, first name like that, and I'll say maybe the first name is what, Ernest. Now you see that these are two different words, first and the name. This is okay, but to stay professional or for a proper practice sake, there are conventions that we can follow whenever we are giving variable names. We are naming our variables. Okay, so it turns out that we have the camel case. The camel case. So let me just pull out some few comments here. We have the camel case. Okay, and then we also have the snake case. Okay, snake case like that. Now what a camel case does is that the first word, all the characters in the first word will be small letters, but the first letter of the second word will now be capital, like so. You get it? So that is how the camel casing convention works. So you can see that this is standing out a bit. Yes, okay, you can easily tell that, okay, these are separate words, and it makes more sense like that. Do you get it? Yes. Better yet, you can say that, okay, first name, first underscore name, and then you say Ernest. Do you get? So this is the snake case approach, and this is the camel case approach. Now for me, I'm very okay with the camel case approach, and that is what I'm going to be using throughout the entire session. Okay, good. So whenever the word, the variable name is only containing a single word, you just have to leave it like that. It should just be first like so. So let's say that this variable here is just saying first. Okay, so if you leave it like so, that is perfectly fine. Yes, this is how it's supposed to be. But so long as there is going to be another word called name, the camel case is saying that the second word should begin with a capital letter, like so. Do you get it? Yes. So that is a bit about naming variables or casing within casing when it comes to what, variable naming. So you can choose to stick with either of them, but for me, this is what I have been using since I started learning, or I entered into the programming how do you call it, world. This is what I've been using, and this is what I'm going to use. Like that, I'm kind of okay with this. It makes more sense to me, like, I mean, just like that. Okay, so you can choose either of them and then stick with it. That is okay. It is a preference something. It's a preference something. Okay, yeah, so enough of these variables. Let's say that we had a value here. Okay, let's say no, we had a value here which is a num, which is equal to what, I mean the variable num, which is equal to 20, and then we came back and then we reassigned a different value to this num here. There are times you wouldn't want these things to happen like that. You wouldn't want your variables to change its, I mean, original value. So there is a different way to go about that, and it is what we call constant. Okay, so let me just go ahead and create another file called constants.php. Yes, so I'll just give out some few comments. I'll say constant. So we have to open our PHP tag and then make sure we close it. So we will say constant in PHP. All right, so when we say a constant, they are similar to variables, but their values cannot be changed once they are set. Do you get it? Their values cannot be changed once they are set. You cannot change their values during runtime or execution of the program. The constant value doesn't change. Okay, so to create a constant, we use the define keyword. So we say define. So this is a method or a function. Now it takes two arguments. The first one is the name of the constant. So you can say double quote, or you can use single quote. So we say, let's say that we have a system that we want to say that we want a maximum users to be up to a particular number. So let's say max underscore users. All right, and then we go outside the double quote, and now we specify the second argument. It will now be the value of the constant. So let's say that we want the maximum number of users to be what, 500, and then we can terminate this one here. Now let's go ahead and say we want to output max users, or the constant variable, and see what it gives us. So let's go back to our browser, and then we have to change our URL and say constant.php. Yeah, so we are getting 500 as the output. Now let's try to say we want to reassign a different value to this constant here. So let me just say that max users should be equal to, let's say, 1000, and then terminate it. You see already our IDE or our text editor is giving us a hint that no, something is wrong. Yes, we cannot do that. So expression is not writable. It means that we cannot, I mean, reassign a value to this constant variable here. Yeah, so there are times that you wouldn't want your values or your variables, the value that are contained in your variables, to change. So in that case, you make use of constant. Okay, yes, so that is a bit about constant. Now there is also what we call predefined variables. Okay, so let me just get rid of this one and then create another file called predefined variables.php, and I'll open a PHP tag and I'll close it. Now, what are predefined variables? So PHP has a number of predefined variables that provide information about the environment and state of the current script. Okay, so whichever script that, or whatever script that we've created, so this is, for instance, a PHP file, and whatever script that we are going to write within this PHP file, we can get certain information about the script, or even the file itself. We can get certain information about the file or the script. So it happens that PHP provides us with predefined variables to be able to do that. And some of the most commonly used predefined variables are, we have the server. So we begin with a $sign, a server. We have the server predefined variable. Okay, we also have the get predefined variable. We also have the post predefined variable. We also have session predefined variable. We also have cookie. There are a lot of them. Okay, yes, but these are just few that I've highlighted. There are so many of them. Yeah, so let's quickly say that we want to get whatever that this server and predefined variable has for us. So let's just say that var dump. Okay, var dump. I told you that whenever you want to print information about a particular variable, or yes, statement, you can use the var dump keyword to be able to get information about what that particular variable or keyword. Okay, so let's just say that we want to output information about the server. So let's go and then open our browser and change our route once again to what predefined variables.php, and we are getting a whole lot of information. We are getting a whole lot of information about what the script or the server that we are currently working with. So you can see that let me see if we can get the name of the script here, which is PHP predefined variables. I hope that we can see. Let me see, find predefined. Good. So this is it here, this one here. So this is the name of the current file that we are working with. So you see that script file name. Okay, script file name is here like that, and it has been able to pull out the name of the current script that we are working with. Yes, so this is a bit about the predefined variables in PHP. Okay, you can also do likewise for get, post, the session, and the cookie to get more information about these predefined variables, and then you can make use of whatever it provides you with. Okay, so enough of that. Let's continue to, so let me just reverse all these things, and I'm just going to comment this ones out, and then I'll create another file called variable _typing. So what do I mean by variable typing? When I say variable typing, it's more or less like forcing the type of variable that we are defining. Okay, so in PHP, variables are dynamically typed, which means that their type can change during execution of the script, just like we saw in the earlier demonstrations, right? Good. You can use the typecasting to explicitly or clearly set a variable to a specific type. Okay, you can clearly set the variable type. Okay, you can specify the type of the variable that you are actually creating, and that we call it to be typecasting. So for instance, let's say that we have a variable called number, and then we say that this number is 20. We know from our previous knowledge that this is a number. Okay, to be very okay, let's just say that var dump, and then let's say number, and then I'll go back to the browser. Make sure you save the file. Okay, go to file and then you save it. Okay, I'll go back to the file, the browser, and I'll change the URL to variable _typing. .php. Okay, how did I even name that variable? Okay, I didn't really specify the extension, my bad. So .php. Good. So let me go back and refresh. Good. So you can see that it is telling us that this particular variable or value here is of the type integer. Okay, now we can convert this thing or typecast this thing to what? A string. So let's say that here I'm just going to say number equal to, then you open brackets, then you say string. Okay, then you go outside the brackets and say that number. So when you do this, what you've essentially done here is that you've actually converted this number here from the type integer to a string. So let's now output and see if we are going to get the type of this number to be a string. Yes, so now you can see it is now what? A string. Initially was an integer. So that is what? Typecasting. That is what? Typecasting. That is typecasting. Okay. Now, it is also possible that we create a variable with a name that is stored in another variable. And this is what we know as variable. To create a variable, you need to use two dollar symbols. So let's see how we can do that. So I'll create another file called variable underscore variable .php, and I'll open my PHP tag as usual. Then I'll make sure I'll close it somewhere here, and then I'll say that okay, there is this variable called what? Okay, let's say name. Okay, say a nest, and then I'll come back and say that name equal to, let's say hello John. Okay, then I'll terminate it. Now when I should echo this name here, what I'll get is what? The latter, which is hello John. So let's just test that out. So again, let's change our route to variable.php. Variable.php. Okay, yeah, so we are getting hello John. Okay, let's try to do something here. So let's add one more dollar sign to this one. Okay, and then add another dollar sign to this one and see what happens. Good. So it's more or less like it is still retaining whatever this value is. Okay, it is still retaining whatever that value is having for us, but still it is using this variable here. Do you get it? Well, you might not see the essence of this, but just know that it is an option that is available in PHP for you like that. Okay, now let's try to touch on one more thing, and then I think we can draw curtains on this particular session whilst we prepare to look at other stuffs in the later videos. Okay, now another concept I want us to talk about is variable scope. Variable underscore scope.php. I'll open my PHP tag as usual, and then I'll close it. Now, variables in PHP have either local or global scope. Local variables are defined within function, okay, and are only accessible within that function. Global variables are defined outside of a function and can be accessed from any part of the script. Now, we've not talked about functions yet, but I think it is essential that I make mention of it in this video, because we are going to look at it in the subsequent videos to come. Okay, so for now, let's say that we have this variable called what? Greeting. So I'll say that hello, how are you? So let's say hello how are you? Okay, good. Now I'm just going to create a function or define a function called greeted. Okay, and I'll say that open curly braces, and I'll say greeting equals to what? Hello. Okay, let's say hello, how are you? How are you? Okay, and then I'll add from function, and I'll terminate this one here. Then I'll just echo greeting. Okay, so now let's see which one gets printed out. Okay, let's see which one gets printed out. I'll say that variable underscore scope dot php. Okay, so it is that we are not getting any output. Okay, yes, so let me just echo this thing here, echo greeting, and then see what we have again. So hello, how are you? So we can see that this is coming from what? The first variable declaration here. Okay, now this is a global. This is what we refer to as what? A global variable. So its scope is global. It is accessible within the entire script here. Do you get it? Now this greeting here is also what? Local to this function here. It is within this function and it belongs to only this function. So when I say that, when I evoke, let me comment this one here, and I evoke the function called greeting, okay, and I terminate it, look at what it gives us as the output. Hello, how are you? From function. Okay, good. Now what if we want to make use of this global variable here in a function? All we have to do is to say that, okay, let me just comment this one here and then duplicate it, and then I'll clear all these things and say I'll use the global keyword, and then I'll make sure I terminate this statement here and then save this one here. Let's see if we are going to get this message printed or not. Mind you that we are no longer echoing this greeting here. We've commented it out, so we are expecting that something should come out from the function here. Do you get it? Good. So when I should refresh, we are getting hello, how are you? And this is coming from this global variable here, but then we've been able to use the global keyword to use it to be able to use it within the function. Do you get it? Yeah, so that is a bit about variable scope. Yeah, so I think that this video here has helped you, and yes, we are actually making progress in our step-by-step guide. If you like the video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you've not done so. If you have any comments to or any question to, please leave them in a comment section. And this will be the end for this particular session. We are going to continue to look at other stuff or other concepts in PHP in the subsequent video. Until then, I wish you a happy learning, and please don't forget to like the video and also subscribe to the channel. That's a way that you can support the channel and also support our content. All right, thank you for doing that, and then I hope to see you in the next video. Until then, peace.